Working Against Gravity is super excited to kick off our first cooking show with this 2-for-1 recipe option, and it's gonna be bulk food.
Yes, we had a lot of people asking how to cook in bulk, so we've got for you to start with this really easy but really, really tasty Bolognese and Mexican hot pot.
Wait, you can do both?
Yes, they both use lean beef, they both use onion, tomato, they're both cooked in similar utensils. Just at the last second, we're gonna switch one with some taco seasoning and some pinto beans, and the other one's gonna go in the Italian direction with some oregano and bay leaf. I'm gonna get Molly to start preparing our onion and garlic, so she's gonna slice it and dice it up, as well as a few of the mushrooms, the onions, and we're going to essentially use this half a large can of canned tomato, this Classico brand tomato sauce, or like a marinara sauce. If you don't have access to it, just choose the lowest carbohydrate, lowest macro one you can find in the store. And we're gonna add in these cherry tomatoes because I love the way that they really cook and blister in the sauce. It adds
more flavor comes out.
Kind of breaking the beef up before I put it in the pan a bit, just so that it doesn't clump up too much. Because this is a bulk recipe, we're gonna sort of divide it every day. I'm gonna weigh out like 200 grams of it for my lunch. So I want as much of the recipe to be as even as possible and not have like one day it mostly be meat and one day it's mostly onion or something like that.
I'm chopping up the mushrooms. I really like using mushrooms when I make meals, just because they're pretty low in macros and they kind of are a good filler and they go a long way. Plus, they're packed with a ton of vitamins and good for us to eat.
These recipes are a really good way to just like get extra vegetables in.
Yeah.
When you don't really feel like eating vegetables.
Mushrooms, for instance, you can eat a high volume of mushrooms and they're gonna have a very low carbohydrate content. Whereas opposed if you eat something like white rice, a serving of white rice is gonna have, a higher volume of carbs in it. So it's just about kind of maximizing what you're eating. The
whole point of the Working Against Gravity cooking show is to give you some inspiration, ideas, new recipes that can be easily chopped and changed to fit pretty much anyone's macros. A good macro-friendly recipe is easy to change and make work for you.
A lot of the cooking shows out there use a lot of extra oils and are super calorie dense meals. So our goal with this cooking show is to show you some ways where you can kind of cut some of the extra fluff out and still get a really nutritious meal.
The base of both of these recipes is tomato. So we've got cherry tomatoes, half can of diced tomatoes, and your choice of marinara or tomato sauce. So I'm going to let this one simmer for about 20 minutes. And then at that point, we're gonna take this one beef tomato recipe and we're going to split it into 2 smaller recipes, and those are going to create a Bolognese and the other one is going to be a Mexican hot pot. And basically, those additions at the end are going to add like such contrasted flavors from each other that they just taste like 2 completely different dishes.
Which is awesome, because then you can have one meal, or one day you can have Mexican and then the following day you can have Italian, and it really requires little extra work.
That's exactly my plan. A zoodle is a zucchini noodle, and they are taking the world by storm a little bit, but if you're not aware, there's a few ways for you to basically peel and spiralize zucchini, and you've created a really low calorie, like really low carb, super micronutrient dense base in lieu of pasta.
You guys can find zoodles at the grocery store in the packaged areas. But you can also go to Bed Bath & Beyond and just grab your own zoodle maker. It's about 30 bucks. And they tend to charge you a little bit more for the prepackaged zoodles because they make them for you. So not a bad option to buy your own zoodle maker, save a little bit of money long term.
I don't think you're like at the CrossFit Games eating zoodles.
No, zoodles will not give you enough energy to keep up with all the workouts.
It's a bit of a waste of time at that point, but they are really good substitute if you don't have the macros left to fit full-on pasta.
So I'm gonna cook these noodles off, get a little bit of water out of them.
Perfect, because this is nearly done. So we're at a point now where I can turn this all the way down to low, and I'm going to separate the tomato and beef mix into 2 separate pots. And then I'm gonna start adding those separate those separate ingredients to turn them into totally different dishes. When you're separating the pots, you'll probably find most of the liquid stays to the bottom. So you want to make a conscious effort to have it be quite even. And now I'm going to add in some bay leaf and just let it sit on heat with that, as well as some dried oregano. And you can use fresh as well if you like. But these are always handy to just have on hand in your kitchen because you always want like calorie-free ways to add flavor to everything. So I'm adding the pinto beans into the second dish that we didn't add the bay leaves and the oregano. The bay leaves and the oregano. And I'm adding as well the taco seasoning. I like to use a lot.
Get the sodium intake up.
I just really like that flavor.
Who doesn't like a little sodium?
The peppers that Molly cut up earlier are gonna go in. It's pretty clear to see that you're gonna get two completely different flavors by the end of this.
All right, our zoodles are ready. So I'm gonna top it off and have a nice little Italian meal.
Nice. And then you can add like some Parmesan cheese or reduced fat mozzarella on top if you want. But
if I have enough fat for that.
Right, but just like that looks absolutely perfect.
And there you have it, guys, a 2-for-1 recipe. We're super excited to be sending you guys some more recipes in the upcoming months.